Okay, this is the second time I'm actually speaking this because I'm not sure on the phone if it stopped recording everything or if it only recorded certain spots. But the name of this word is called My Doubt Didn't Stop Me. This is in regards to um, when we have doubts, but we still come to church or we still come before the face of God. Um, some people like to say that you got doubt, that's it. But there is doubt where, as in, you don't let it stop you from coming before the Lord. And then there's the doubt that you don't come before the Lord. God is referring to, in this word, when you believe in Him, regardless of doubt. And there are different things that can contribute to your doubt. It can be generational curses. It can be the area that you live in. It could be poverty. It could be sickness. It could be any number of things that you would have a logical right to doubt, but yet you didn't let your logic make you not go before God's presence. Because there has to come a point in you where you say that what I'm dealing with, I can't fix, so it's going to require something else bigger, stronger, faster to help me get delivered. Help me get help. Wow. Help me get help. That's heavy. So you got to understand that sometimes doubt can be a good thing. Somebody said, well, that's crazy. No. Because that doubt can motivate you to still push toward God. Okay, Mr. Major, isn't that controversial? No, it's not. Because you got to understand, if I'm not sure about certain things, but I still say I'm going to go to Him, God said, you got it. Because now I'm not relying on the doubt. I'm letting my faith take over for what my flesh is saying. You got cancer. You got type 2 diabetes. You got sickle cell anemia, lupus, but you're still trusting in God regardless of the report or what you go through. Chemotherapy, whatever it is, weight loss, vomiting, throwing up, but you still trust God. I'm going to still come to church even though I'm dealing with a situation that can make me doubt. See, you got to understand that the God that we serve doesn't separate Himself from your problems because He's so supernatural. No, He's supernatural to deal with your earthly problems. I'm going to read to you Matthew 28:17. This is the last book of Matthew. Ironic. This is the chapter that signifies Christ's resurrection. He's already risen. He has arrived. He comes with power. He comes from hell. Okay. So, but there's a situation that the church many times will argue about, but this makes it plain. I'm going to read it to you. It says, and when they saw Him, they worshiped Him, but some doubted. It said, and when they saw Him, they worshiped Him and doubted. Notice how it said some doubted, but some doubted. It said they worshiped. That means they all worshiped. But within that whole group, there was some that still doubted. But notice how it didn't say they doubted, some worship. Watch this. Some doubted and then worshiped. See, you got to understand, the play on words is significant in this text because if it was the other way around, then it would be a different meaning. So what it's saying is that I came to church, I worship with you, but you know what? I'm not sure about my situation, about what I'm dealing with right now, but I'm going to still worship God. I'm going to still give Him glory, despite when I come back home, I'm still dealing with an unsaved husband or unsaved wife, or my children act a fool at times. But I've been in church worshiping God, believing in His power, but I'm still dealing with a doubtful situation. So now you got to understand is, do I let doubt prevent me from coming to God? Or do I use that doubt to propel me like rocket fuel to God? How the space shuttle leaves the Earth. It has rockets on the side that helps move it beyond the gravitational force from the Earth, but it requires a force more powerful than the gravity to leave the Earth to get there. So you need a power more powerful than your bondage or your generational curse to help you get to your purpose in God. I didn't know about that, Elder. I thought you got, because in all that getting, get understanding. There is the doubt that will propel you to God, and then there is the doubt that you will use to keep you in bondage. God's talking about when you let it push you toward me. Because you still believed in me. You just dealing with some everyday situations that can make you say, I don't know about this, but I gotta trust God. The text that the body of this sermon deals primarily with the bondage of the Hebrews, in which Moses was called to bring them out, but they were dealing with a situation, some situations, shall I say, that were unfavorable. First of all, we all know they were slaves, number one. So, what do you do when you hear somebody speaking about God and freedom, but you've been born in slavery all your life? You don't even know what freedom is. You never tasted freedom, but you hear somebody saying, "Let my people go." This is weird. This is strange. I've never been free. Moses had to have faith for them because they were in bondage all their life. Sometimes my faith will help you deal with your doubt. Sometimes my faith can liberate you because you need to see somebody believing in what you never seen before because you've always been stuck. The book of Exodus, that's where the body of this word is coming from. I'm going to read to you what my commentary is, and I'm like Paul. I will always let you know when I'm speaking something that I wrote as opposed to what the Bible has written. In other words, it's very important that we let people know when we write commentary because it helps them to know. All right, here we go. Not everyone that is in service is 100% sure about the belief structure of what they are in conflict with. You need some doubters among you so they can see why you believe in God the way you do. You need to hear their story of why they doubt. We can't be so high-minded that when someone comes to us about their problem, and you just say, "Oh, Jesus will fix it," but you don't give them no scriptures. You don't even share maybe what you went through and how God got you through. It's just a generic thing of Jesus will fix it, but you don't give them any tools to help them get to where they need to be. That's why you got to listen, and you'll find out. People have been taken off the streets of New York and brought into the sex trade. What do you do with a girl who's 15 years old and she's been in the sex trade from 15 to 19, and you tell her about Jesus and he'll heal you, he'll free you, but you have had hundreds of men violate you? You need somebody to listen to their story. A boy may have been raped by a man, and now he's of a different orientation sexually, and You want to throw stones at him, but maybe you want to sit down with him and find out what made that happen before you get ready to start throwing stones, or just say Jesus will fix it, but you never give them any instructions. You got to understand there are doubts that are legitimate, and that's why God gives you grace to work through it. We all didn't get here by, oh, I just arrived. No. And guess what? I still deal with challenges and doubts from time to time. But when God tells me to get up and move, I'll still get up, even when I don't know what I'm dealing with or what I'm struggling with. Because see, the true love and submission of God is when I move, even when I don't feel good, I don't feel well, or I'm struggling right now. That's where faith comes in. Faith will step in where your logic, oh man, don't work. Okay, so once again, my commentary, during the persecution of Jesus, it wasn't cool to be a follower anymore, as the appeal had warned after he was attacked by the church structure. The Romans were sought for assistance to put Jesus down by the same people who studied about him on scrolls, yet knew him not. The faith in God through Jesus was on trial. Jesus stirred up the world's hornet's nest by discrediting false ideology the so-called followers of God induced. This is what I'm saying. When he came, he changed what they were doing that others thought was holy. He actually made it so that, no, this is the way God wanted it to be done in the first place. Why did you change it? Now, this is something that will deal with everybody. This is called, and this is, I put it, adage. I've seen some things. God doesn't discount your human experience. The fact that you showed up is enough for him to work with you. See, what you have to understand is you need to show up even if you ain't feeling the best. Don't use that story of, well, you know what, I'll come to Jesus or I'll come to God when I get myself together. No, you ain't together. That's why you need him. And I'm not referring to if you got a good job and you got degrees and you got the nice car, the nice house and the nice wife and the nice husband and the nice kids. I'm referring to spiritual. When your spiritual life, that's the one that's off. You need to get that corrected, because you can have all the things but be off with God. And the bottom line is, I don't want to do hell. I don't want to have all these things and then leave here and go to the lake of burning fire. So you got to understand, God is saying, I'm dealing with the sin virus, that spiritual virus, that spiritual pandemic that Jesus came to change. But what you got to understand is God knows he has to work through your issues. This is why he had me coming from the story of the Hebrews that were in bondage. Now, what you need to understand about the story is, here comes Moses. And Moses is saying, let my people go to Pharaoh. So here's my commentary again. What do you do when a man or woman of God shows up declaring him and your situation gets worse? Now watch this. You got to understand this, because really it didn't get worse. Because the one who was in charge of keeping you enslaved, that came from him or her. Because you got to understand, whenever there's change that changes how someone profits are going to come down harder on who they are in control of. So whoever's watching this, I hope you write this down. Generational change doesn't come without revolution. Because it's been ingrained as a culture, it's going to take a supernatural power to take away its footing or its roots in you. Okay, watch this. Exodus 5:19. Okay. And the officers of the children of Israel did see that they were in evil case after it was said, ye shall not minish aught from your bricks of your daily task. Okay, so here's the understanding. Moses is saying, let my people go. Pharaoh don't like it. Pharaoh was saying, my people, we need to go into the wilderness and worship God. He ain't trying to hear it. So this is what he says. He says, I am going to remove the straw that you use to make bricks. But you got to understand the tactic of the enemy. Because what he did was he didn't use his own guards or soldiers to relay the message to the Hebrews. He picked Hebrews to be officers or overseers, and he used them to tell their own people that there isn't going to be any more straw. So this is what you do. As a conqueror, I'm going to take your own people. I'm going to use them to bring my words on how you're going to be in bondage or make things worse. So now what happens is your own people start to hate you. Okay, black on black crime. Oh, Spanish on Spanish crime. Irish on Irish. I can go down the whole line. Because now you start seeing the connections of why there is dysfunction between the same race of people. Because if I can use you against your own people, they're going to hate you. Guess what happens? I take some of the, oh man, excuse me, I take some of the heat off me. Even though I'm oppressing you, because you're looking at me more than you're looking, oh my God, you're looking at me in regards to the person who is of your culture more than the one who is oppressing you. Okay. The enemy is very smart on how he sets up things. Now, watch this. Exodus 5:20. I'm going to read this to you. And they met Moses and Aaron, who stood in the way, as they came forth from Pharaoh. 21. And they said unto them, the Lord look upon you and judge, because ye have made our Savior to be abhorred in the eyes of Pharaoh, in the eyes of his servants, to put a sword in their hand to slay us. The ones who's helping to free you is the ones who you're talking against. But did you honestly think the one who oppressed you was going to let you go quietly? No, because guess what? That person or persons profit off of what you do. So somebody's coming to what they say, turn over the apple cart, and that person is upset. So now they're going to make life harder for you. It wasn't Moses or Aaron that made life hard for you. It was that same taskmaster. And we live in a society where people will lessen what the dictator does, because they're used to it. When you get used to things that are off, anything that comes to liberate you, you'll see as a problem, because you were comfortable being in bondage. That's why Jesus came. Jesus came so you wouldn't be comfortable in being in bondage. So you got to take your doubts to church. Take your dysfunction to church. Take your off beliefs to church and let God work with you so he can start taking off those things that kept you in bondage. That's why you got the 10 Commandments. Because God needed to detox the people away from what they were used to being in for their life, for generations. So it takes a power more powerful than what has kept you enslaved to free you. And God knew Jesus was the only one who can do the job. Wow. Now, so Moses is doing God's work, but now not only is Moses dealing with the Pharaoh, he's dealing with his own people. Now, okay, so you got the Pharaoh, the devil, and then God's people. You got to look as leaders. When you a leader, understand everybody ain't going to like you. When you're a leader, I don't care what you do, somebody gonna have something to say about you, and you got to have the type of skin that says, oh well, because I know who I work for. When you work for God, don't worry about what the haters say, or they come against you, or you ain't black enough, or you ain't white enough, or you ain't Spanish enough, or you whatever that people use to try to say you're not part of the culture because you are different. Well, then be different. But it requires you to bring your doubts to church. Bring it all, and God can deal with it. So, person's been whipping you. They whipped you 5 times. Somebody came to free you, they whipped you 5 more times. So instead of blaming the person that whipped you, you blame the person that tried to free you. That's what the devil will do. He'll use your pain to take your eyes off of who's really causing the problem. That's why I said you can't go by your eyes. You walk by faith and not by sight. So you got to understand, you got to look at the spirit. Okay. I'm going to read some more. And this will help those to understand the process of what God has to do. As you understand, I'm going to read Exodus 5:10, and this is going to give once again the demonstration of what I said earlier about what Pharaoh was doing. Exodus 5:10, and the taskmasters of the people went out, and their officers, and they spake to the people, saying, thus saith Pharaoh, I will not give you straw. The voice is coming from somebody who looks like you. You got to be careful of when you don't look at who the person is working for that's telling you. Because you will confuse the messenger. Okay. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. It's self-explanatory. That still came from Pharaoh. But what the Pharaoh did was he knew that by using a person from your own race, you're going to look at them more than him. I'm going to read this to you to give more understanding. Exodus 5:11. Go ye, get you straw, where ye can find it, yet not aught of your work shall be diminished. So, the Pharaoh says, make the same amount of bricks that you always made when I was supplying you straw, as to now you got to find it for yourself. Pharaoh knew that that was not logical, but it was him trying to break the will of what Moses was doing, because the people were going to be aggravated with him too. He was not a dumb man, but he was an agent of the devil, so he understood exactly what to do in this particular case. Know when somebody's doing something but it's not them. It's called discernment. Those rulers in high places, okay. I'm going to give you another one because I'm coming to a close. So the people were scattered abroad. This is Exodus 5:12. Throughout all the land of Egypt to gather stubble instead of straw. Exodus 5:12. So you now got them looking all over the place for this straw. They're finding stubble. Physical exhortation is going to make you what? You're not going to have much energy. It's a breaking of the will. Know when the enemy's trying to break your will. And what you need to do is to think on what God has said to you before when he's trying to break your will. And hold on to that word. What was it? Let my people go. Hold on to the word. So God's word will sustain you even when you can't trace him and things don't look like that, like they're going your way, because it's nothing more than a device to try to keep you down. But you got to understand, how much worth do you have to be going through all of this? How much value do you have? So what you got to do is look at your situation as this is indicative of what my value truly is. So now you start seeing things from not your natural eye, but you see it through your spiritual eye. Don't forget about the leaders that suffer for you. Why did I say this? And I'm going to read you the scripture that gives this understanding. Because many times junior workers will say so many things about people who are managers and supervisors and team leaders, and they'll often say, oh, they're different from us and they don't know what we're going through. But you know what? Some of you could not take the tongue lashings or the threats that they get when things don't go right for on your behalf. So when you forget about that, that's when you don't realize who's trying to cover you. And what I'm going to go to is Exodus 5:14. And the officers of the children of Israel, which Pharaoh's taskmasters had set over them, were beaten and demanded, wherefore have ye not fulfilled your task in making brick both yesterday and today as their heretofore? So, them same officers that you used from your own people, the Hebrews, to tell you what Pharaoh said, I'm not going to give you any straw. Now he's beating them same ones. That's further diminishing. You're already in bondage, but now I'm making you worse. You're already in slavery, but now I'm making you worse. This tactic has been used many times in the ghettos, where people of the same culture will demean each other, will put each other down, and it becomes acceptable to hurt each other, to tear down each other, rape, rob, kill, steal, tear up your area where you live at, those kinds of things. Hurting each other for financial gain, but then say we all in this together. No, we're not. Because when you practice these tactics, these things are a subculture within a culture. Whereas, and you could be black or Puerto Rican or white or whatever, and you could use the culture to say this is why some don't do this and some don't do that, but then you turn around and hurt somebody else who has that stigma, or the race itself has that stigma, and you contribute to that. Thus the use of the word, the N-word, that is often used by black people amongst each other, which is the example of a term that was used from slavery to keep you in bondage, but now you choose to use that term as a regular part of your vocabulary. But what you did was you took a word and you perverted its meaning, which it still didn't change what that word meant. I could take a pen and write down on a piece of paper, or I could stab you in your neck. It's still a pen. But I perverted its use when I killed you. Bible says you got to be careful when you change something from its purpose to something else that it was never supposed to be. Be careful with what you listen to, because if you are geared to be more partial to it, you will eventually, over time, succumb to it. The word says there'll be a falling from the faith. So, as we get the bulk of what I was saying, here's the symbology of Christ. Exodus 23 and 20. God allowed me to use Exodus as the backdrop of this resurrection Sunday, because we were all in bondage. We were all in slavery to sin, and we needed Christ to do something for us to help us get beyond where things were to where we are at now. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. As this is reference to an angel, but this is also a symbolic reference to Christ, because that's who he was. Now, in 21, beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Okay, watch this. When Jesus comes back in the battle of Armageddon, his eyes will be blazed of fire riding a white horse. And there will be saints that were caught up in the rapture that went to heaven will come back with him. And we're going to take this thing back. It says in the word that he will take the dragon, the beast, and the Antichrist and throw them into the lake of burning fire. So what you got to understand now is judgment will be with him. You need to understand that we need to get it right now so we can be with him, not apart from him. That lake of burning fire is not reserved just for the dragon, the beast, and the Antichrist. It's for all those that don't follow God. That's why he died on the cross for us. That's why he held himself ransom for this sinful virus pandemic. He became the Passover for us. Moses was the type of Christ, and he came in to help liberate God's people, but it took a long time. It was a process. It wasn't easy, but it did happen. Jesus recognized who he was when he was a man in the flesh, as well as God in the flesh. He took our place. He took everything that was considered vile and he put it on him so we could live, so we could survive. We were the Hebrews that were enslaved, but we were enslaved in that pandemic of the sin that was released. Ground zero was the Garden of Eden. That's where the virus came out of, the spiritual sin virus, when Adam and Eve sinned. But then Jesus became the cure, the antidote to help us. We needed the light of Jesus to free us. And I'm going to read this last few things and I'll be wrapping it up. What we need to understand is the power of Christ. Exodus 23 and 23. Easy, it's very easy to remember. For my angel shall go before thee and bring thee in unto the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites, the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. Those are all the enemies of God's people. So during that time. So what God is saying is that I'll bring you before your enemies and I will cut them off. Psalm 23. I shall prepare, what is it? I shall prepare a table before thee in the presence of my enemies, right? Wow. Wow. What is God to you, um, as a believer? What is God to you? The reason why I'm asking that question is because many times people say that they love God and they believe in Him, but what about when things get rough? When things are not the way that you thought they were? Wow. What do you do? Psalm 23, 1 through 6. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So, I'm going to read this last part, and I'll be done. This part here, the Lord will bring you around your enemies so they can see his power as you rise. But sometimes they can't see you before you get to the table. And it's okay. Jesus had many enemies that could not deny his power when he rose. He carried a 113-pound cross for us. That's what he did. And when many turned away from him, he still finished the job. He was born. Then he went to be taught as a student, and he got baptized. Then he picked his disciples. Then he was popular. Then after that, scrutinized. Then he became unpopular. And then people ran. Then he was alone. Sometimes to do some of the greatest things in life, sometimes you're going to be by yourself. But if you don't understand the process of going through doubts, then you can't do the purpose that God has called you to do. So what God is saying is bring it all. Bring all your doubts, bring all your problems, bring all your struggles. Just show up and I'll take care of the rest. I will help you. He'll help your unbelief, because that's the type of God that we serve. I hope and pray that this word was able to help somebody, because it was a blessing to me. It's the second time that I'm actually speaking the word, but I thank God for allowing me to do it. I thank Him because I'm. It's only Him, and I hope that I made Him proud, because this is the most important thing, is being available to Him. And with me being a preacher, it was very important for me to bring this word. We are in unusual times because we're in a pandemic. So people are doing things they don't normally do. But I thank God for allowing me to do it. I'm going to say this prayer. And then after that, I'm just going to, wish all well. Lord, I thank you right now for your word that you gave. And I pray that whoever listens to it, that it helps them, not just for today, but for every day of their life. I send a prayer to all the people on the front lines, the first responders, people in the stores, doctors, nurses, janitors, military, pray for the president, and that he gets the guidance from you on how to handle everything and his team. I pray for Congress and Senate and every mayor, every governor, Lord. I say a prayer too for that captain who lost his job on Theodore Roosevelt aircraft carrier, those 550 sailors who have the virus, God. I thank you for his leadership, and I pray that he doesn't lose anything. He doesn't lose his pensioner for his service. I pray for reinstatement for him. Lord, I say a prayer for my mother who has the coronavirus, and she has pneumonia and been diagnosed with dementia. She is a preacher. She is your child. And I thank you for Siobhan and Billy for being there for her. And I thank Donna for being there, watching over her. We say your will be done. So, most importantly, I thank you for your son, because if he didn't die on the cross, we wouldn't be here right now. And we all fortunate. I haven't missed a meal. And Keon and I are not broke. We know that you are in control. And your word said in all things give thanks. So I say all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. And to all the people out there, continue to look at God, because he's the only one that can clear all of this stuff that's going on with this virus. And I say these things. Be well. Amen.